About how to maximize cash flow by owning rental properties. I've already gone over the BRRRR method. I go over the BRRRR method all the time. It stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and scale. But today I want to focus on how to maximize rent in the BRRRS method so that you can maximize cash flow in 2024. This is different than any other type of rental strategy I've ever come across because you have more options. When I got started, the BRRRR method was buy, rehab, long-term rent, refinance, and systemize. Now there are a lot more options that allow you to cash flow in today's high interest rate environment. If you can cash flow right now, you can cash flow in pretty much any environment. So that's what we're going to focus on. I have several apps up right now, from X to Facebook to YouTube to Instagram to TikTok, all the things. So let me know where you're from. If you have not, I would appreciate that, some interaction. Let's have some fun. I'm really going to try to provide as much free value as I can for you today. Let me introduce myself. You introduce yourself, then we will get the ball rolling. Thanks for spending your afternoon, evening with me, depending on when and where you're watching. I know you could be doing a lot of other things, so I appreciate you for being here very, very much. And depending what platform you're on, make sure to follow or subscribe. And if you want a full extra training, and if you're on a Meta platform, type the word new in the chat box and you'll get DM'd a free 25-minute training where I walk through all of this in more totality. And if you're on YouTube, just check the description after this and you will get the training there. New, or check the description on YouTube. All right, here we go. So everybody, I think most people know about the BRRRS method, so let's go over that. I have done the BRRRS method over 300 times. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Sam. I'm a real estate investor. I own a house buying company that flips 250 to 300 houses a year, all here in St. Louis. I also own a $50 million rental portfolio that I bought using none of my own money. So I do understand this. I am not one of those gurus that pretends to know what they're talking about. Or I just saw somebody the other day post on Facebook. They just completed their second wholesale deal, and they said, anybody who wants to learn how to wholesale, DM me. If somebody's done something 2 damn times, they're not enough of an expert to teach on it. So that's what frustrates me. I own $50 million worth of real estate, and I maximize rent, and I'm going to show you exactly what I do now. So if you appreciate that, double tap that screen, hit that like button. I appreciate you very much. And again, if you're just joining me, because this is a live, people are in and out, I'm talking about how to maximize rent and maximize cash flow in today's high interest rate environment with the BRRRS method. All right, let's quickly get caught up with the BRRRS method. The BRRRS method stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and systemize. So we bought a distressed property using a private lender's money. I have a bunch of trainings on that. Type the word new into the chat box, or if you're on YouTube, check the description after this live for that free training. Then you get the property rehabbed, and now we are in the rent phase. This is how you maximize rent, and I'm going to do some Q&A as questions come up, so make sure to check that out. And again, let me know where you're from if you have not, and double tap and share that live. We're talking about real estate investing. I know I'm not talking politics. I know I'm not talking about Biden or Trump or Kamala or wars in Ukraine. Sorry, I'm not trying to scare you into watching my content. That's tongue-in-cheek, sorry. I'm wanting to be positive in a place where you can still go learn. Everybody is so scared of everything right now. They're afraid of their own shadow. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing. They're afraid of pissing that person off. I'm just trying to help you create financial freedom through real estate. I'm not trying to pick a side. I'm not trying to pitch you against somebody else. I'm trying to unite and bring us together and not go the political route. I know so many people that are whoring out their show and their channel and tagging on to the political scene just to get views. You can get mad at Fox, you can get mad at CNN, or you can build wealth and take financial control and security. I don't care what the stock market does. It just crashed. I don't care because I own assets. I don't care what happens and who gets what and who gets voted in. I control my financial future. I control my financial destiny because I invest in real estate. I own rental properties that grow with inflation and that hedge against a recession. I am able to make active income on real estate, so I control my financial situation no matter what the stock market does, no matter what real estate does, no matter who's voted where, no matter how many wars are going on. I control my financial destiny actively because I can take a real estate property and maximize it and make money now, and I create wealth. So if you want that type of control, double tap that screen, hit that like button, share this live with anybody you know that is interested in real estate investing, and again, follow or subscribe no matter what platform you're on. All right, enough about all that. I'm going to repeat a little bit of that as we go through, because if you didn't know, on lives, there's always people joining in and out. The average viewership on a live is like 45 seconds, which for some of y'all is a long time. Get it? But it's not very long. So that's why we're going to keep going in and out. All right, here we go. So this is the rent part of the BRRRS method. So we did the buy, the rehab, the rent, the refinance, the scale, or systemize. So let's talk about rent. This is where you get the property rented. And the crazy thing about today's market is you have so many different options that you did not used to have. Again, when I got in the game 10 years ago, you only had one option. That was to take this property and rent it out on a long-term basis, a 12 or 24-month lease where you are renting the property out on the long term to somebody over a long period of time. So that's what you're doing. You are, let's make this a little less thick. Not that I've ever heard that. So you're renting over the property over a long period of time. This is where it's hard to cash flow right now. Don't worry, I'm going to give you a few more options, 3 more. But if you're just joining, I'm talking about how to maximize cash flow right now. I guess no matter what you're doing, but mainly with the BRRRS method, okay? So when I got started, all you had was long term, right? You buy the property, you get it rented on a 12 to 24 month lease for, $2,500 a month. The issue with that was that cash flow is pretty good when you have a 5% interest rates and when values are remaining pretty steady. And then when real estate taxes are remaining steady. But guess what? Right now, you're going to be at 8%. That makes your cash flow less. Right now, real estate values have gone up like crazy, so therefore you're actually financing more. And then lastly, real estate taxes have gone up like crazy, plus insurance has gone up like crazy. So I guess the point of all those 3 weird arrows is rent has not gone up more than the recent expenses in interest rates, in taxes, insurance, and interest, tax rate, insurance. It hasn't gone up the same as all of those. So you need to figure out how to increase this top line, and that's where these new options come in. Okay, again, let me know where you're from if you have not. If you're just joining me, double tap the screen, share this live, type the word new in the chat box if you were on Facebook or Instagram. You will get DM'd a free 25-minute training where I do not ask for your phone number or your email address. You get the free training legitimately for free. And if you are on YouTube, just go to the description after this video to get that free training. If you're on another platform, you're going to have to go over to that. So that's what we got going there. All right, so the next thing is to look at a different type of option, all right? So the next thing you can do is you can do like a mid-term option. This is my favorite. So who knows what midterm rental is? Thumbs up if you know what midterm rental is. Thumbs down if you do not. Thumbs up if you know what a midterm rental is. Thumbs down if you do not. Thumbs up if you know what a midterm option is. Thumbs down if you do not. Sorry, I had to adjust it. Thumbs up if you know midterm. Thumbs down if you do not. So midterm rentals are like getting into the Airbnb game 15 years ago. You've got to get in early, all right? So midterm rentals are where, sorry, the connection's in and out, whatever, just stick with me. Midterm rentals are the first option that I would suggest going into if you are going to actually want to cash flow in today's environment. Because this $2,500 a month property, if you're renting it out on a midterm basis, is going to be, you're going to be able to get about $5K a month for. Not always exactly, but in general, you should get 50 to 100% more rent. So let's say, maybe 4 to 5K on midterm versus long term. And guess what? Interests are more, taxes are more, insurance is more. A lot of your expenses have gone up. But guess what? Your rent can go up even more if you do like the midterm route. Again, midterms you're able to get, 10, you're able to get, 50 to 100% more. So midterm rentals are renting out rentals out on a midterm basis, okay? You're renting to traveling nurses, you're renting to corporate leases, you're renting to, people that need something, like a, what do you want to call it? Like somebody that, needs like an insurance displacement. Midterm rentals are a huge industry. the place where people list their midterm rentals are a website called Furnish Finders, okay? And if you're just joining, I'm talking about how to cash flow heavily in today's higher interest rate environment by giving you multiple options besides just a long term. We're on midterm right now. So if you're just joining me, double tap the screen, let me know where you're from. My name is Sam. I bought $50 million worth of real estate using none of my own money, and now it's my mission to help other people get financial stability and control in a very unstable and uncontrolled world that we live in today, with the gross politicians, the gross media that lies to you on both sides, and the absolutely insane amount of misinformation out there. Having rental properties and being able to make an income based on real estate on your own knowledge is very reassuring in a not very assuring time. So that's why I appreciate you being here. Getting this knowledge, it will help you a ton. The only difference between you and being financially stable is knowledge. Obviously implementation, but you are probably smarter than me. You probably work harder than me, but I have knowledge you don't have. That's the only difference, so we're trying to work on that right now, okay? Thumbs up if you appreciate that. All right, so midterm rentals are traveling nurses' corporate leases. They're 30, 60, 90, 120-day leases, so somebody needs them for a short period of time. Furnish Finder is where you're going to find all these properties listed. And on Furnish Finder right now, there are about 200 to 250,000 listings. There are about 2 million traveling nurses in the country right now, and there's probably another 1 million corporate leases, insurance claims, and digital nomads. So there's probably conservatively about 3 million people that need a place to stay on a 60, 90, 120-day a night basis, and there's only 250,000 available. That is the supply and demand, and you're holding that supply that is in high demand. That's a good spot to be. So don't think that you're going to get a midterm rental and not be able to rent it. That's never a problem with midterm rentals. It's never a problem not being able to rent it. I see some comments. Thank you for the comments. Hey, appreciate what's going on, everybody. What's up, Jeffrey? All right, so 4 to 5K midterm rentals. So just naturally, I don't need to give you any more chicken scratch, but your expenses have gone up, but your rent goes up more. Therefore, you cash flow. And midterm rentals, I'm not even going to tell you where to get it, but I created an 82 video midterm program that you get if you're part of my mentorship. But I created like 82 videos on how to maximize midterm rentals because I really believe in them. They're like getting into short-term rentals not that long ago. So midterm rentals are a huge opportunity for you all, in my opinion. All right, so we're going to recap all this and get some questions, but in general, what we just talked about is the BRRRR method, buy, rehab, rent, and you can rent out a long-term basis, a mid-term basis. Any guesses what the third option is you can rent it out on? Again, let me know where you're from if you haven't. Thank you for joining me. You could be doing a lot of other things with your day today, so thank you for joining me. And I guess it's probably I guess it could be anywhere. We have people all over the country, so it's all over the world. Could be morning, thank you. Could be afternoon where you're watching, thank you. Could be evening where you're watching, so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. STL in the hizzy. All right, so the last option is, or the third option is short term. Short term, and I'm going to go over the pros and cons of long term, mid term, and short term with you here momentarily. Let's just talk about the process right now. So if something rents out for $2,500 a month long term, it rents for 4 to 5K a month mid term, it's going to rent for 7 to 10K a month short term. Now, there's more management cost here because you're turning units every weekend or a couple times a week. This you're turning them every couple months. This you're turning them once every couple years. So naturally, the further you go down this path, the bigger your expenses get, but also your income goes up incrementally more is kind of the goal of that, right? So short term, this is your Airbnb, this is your VRBO, this is your just vacation style type rentals. Now, you can't use these everywhere. Not every rental you buy is going to make a good short-term rental, but for the right short-term rental, this could be an incredible opportunity for you to cash flow a few $1,000s a month on a property that would not cash flow at all on a long-term basis. That's the beauty of this. You find a deal, and this is what we teach our students in the mentorship. We got some of them watching, but this is what we teach you. Find the property at a deep discount. Find the money to execute whatever strategy you want, and then what do you need? Do you need cash now? Do you want higher cash flow? Let's short-term it if possible. You're in an area that doesn't allow for short-term rentals? Midterm rentals aren't outlawed anyway. So you can midterm rental this thing in cash flow. this will cash flow long term, you don't want to spend much time managing, let's do that route. Or let's just sell the damn thing after we fix it up. That's the beauty of having somebody that has been there, done that. We give you a customized, holistic approach. If you're just a wholesaler, if you're just a fix and flipper, if you're just a rehabber, you are not taking full advantage of what real estate can give you. You need to understand this, and you need to be able to bob and weave depending on your situation, what real estate throws your way. And again, if you're just joining me, comment the word new in the chat box. If you are on Instagram or Facebook, you will automatically get DM'd to free training where I don't collect any of your information. If you are on YouTube, just check the description after this video. And if you are on any other platform, head to those other two. All right, so we got long-term, mid-term, short-term. This allows you to cash flow. When I got started, all you did was long-term. Now, midterms are a great option and short terms are a great option. There are just not as many opportunities for short term, but there are plenty of opportunities for midterm. Midterms aren't outlawed anywhere because how people get around short-term rentals, you know how people outlaw short-term rentals? Any idea how the governments outlaw short-term rentals? Any idea? They say you can't have a lease for less than 30 days. Hence, no more short-term rentals. Midterm rentals are 30 to 120-day leases, so you're able to go around that. All right, and then the last opportunity to rent that you may or may not know about is Section 8, and that's government subsidized housing. Gosh, that's a mess. That's being in my brain. I'm sorry, it's obnoxious. That's what it's like being inside my brain. It's probably feel sorry for myself sometimes. Definitely even sorry for my wife more because she probably understands my brain more than most, and that's obnoxious. But in case you're wondering and just joining, we're talking about how to maximize rent by getting a different tenant base. Long-term rentals are harder to cash flow right now with what we have going on. Mid-term rentals are really easy to cash flow. You just might not know about them, how to execute them. Short-term rentals are great for cash flow, but they don't work everywhere, okay? And then Section 8 is just government subsidized housing. It's not anything more than that. It's not anything less than that. Anybody that tries to sell you a course on that, that's fine. They're probably, some of them are good, most aren't. But it's just renting to a Section 8 authority, getting vouchers, and having the government subsidize your rent. It's good and bad, has pros and cons. Now, would you like me to go into the ideal tenant base, or would you like me to talk about the pros and cons of long-term, mid-term, and short-term? Which would you like me to talk about? Type in 1 if you want the pros versus cons. It looks like PVC, pro versus cons. Type in 2 if you want me to talk about specific tenant tenants. So type 1 if you want me to talk about pros and cons of short-term, mid-term, long-term. I'm going to talk about 2 if you want me to type in 2 if you want me to talk about a little more tenant-based things. What's going on, everybody? Let me know where you're from. Thanks for joining while the votes are coming in. Follow and subscribe depending on what platform you're watching. I have like 5 up right now. And then you can DM me on Instagram if you want to chat and type the word new, N-E-W, in the chat box. I see 1s and 2s. Crap. All right, we'll do both. How about that? Let's do pros and cons because I got them up. Then we'll talk about how to maximize your relationship with your tenants. All right. So let's just take in order. We got short-term, mid-term, and long-term rentals. Small, medium, large. Short-term, mid-term, and long-term rentals. Okay. If you're just joining me, I'm talking about how to maximize cash flow in today's higher interest rate environment by giving you strategies and tips and options to take full advantage of what real estate actually offers. So many people pigeonhole themselves into just a wholesaler. Well, you're missing out on building wealth. All right, only buy long-term rentals. Well, you're missing out on active income, and you're missing out on other opportunities to do midterm or short-term. So I'm trying to expand your mind a little bit and allow you to see all the benefits of real estate and all the beautiful things and all the ways that you can maximize real estate, because real estate's so powerful. It's like you playing a basketball game and having one tennis shoe on, one flip-flop on, wearing a jacket, a backpack, a backwards hat, your sunglasses, and only dribbling with your offhand. That's what it's like when you're in, what a weird-ass analogy. Where the hell did that come from? Anyways, that's what it's like when you're investing in real estate and you're not taking advantage of all the things and you're only doing one thing. Take that crap off and be able to triple point threat, you know what I'm saying? All right, that was obnoxious as well. Gosh, I don't even know why I need to watch me. I'm such an idiot sometimes. All right, anyways, short-term, mid-term, long-term rental. Let's go over the pros and the cons. So short-term, you're going to get the highest cash flow. So let's talk about let's talk about cash flow. Cash flow. Short term, you're going to get the highest. You're going to get the highest possible initial gross cash flow. Midterms, you get, kind of decent cash flow, pretty good. And then long terms, you're getting the lowest amount of cash flow. Now, let's counter that with maintenance expense. How much it is to maintain these properties. Again, short term is going to be the highest. Midterm is actually going to be potentially low, and then long term is going to be pretty low. So with tenant bases of a short-term rental, you get the most cash flow because you're renting it out on the weekend or weekly basis. So you're able to collect more per night. But of course, again, it's not always occupied. Midterm, you're able to collect a pretty good amount per night, but they're 30, 60, 90-day leases. Long-term, you're collecting the minimal amount per night because it's a 12 or 24-month lease. If you're just joining me, let me know where you're from. I'm talking about how to cash flow. This thing's probably going to loop, especially on YouTube. I figured out a way to have this loop. So if you are watching and this topic interests you at all, cash flow in today's market, and you want to see the BRRRS method with the rent, long-term, midterm, short-term, Section 8, all that stuff, just hang on for 10 more minutes. This thing's going to loop back over, and it's going to start over from the beginning if you're watching on YouTube, okay? All right, so anyways, short-term, midterm, long-term, cash flow is the most on short-term, decent on midterm, okay on long-term. Maintenance is the most. Have you ever stayed at an Airbnb? Thumbs up if you've ever stayed at Airbnb, a short-term rental. I respect them and respect the properties, but you're leaving soon. You've got more people than you thought you were going to stay there, and then there's a ding in the wall and this and that. It's fine. None of it's bad. It's just part of it. But that is why maintenance is higher. Midterm is actually less maintenance than you'd think. Midterm is typically a traveling nurse. They work their butts off, they come home, sleep. They work their butts off, they come home, sleep. They're on a contract. They're there for work. They're not there for pleasure. So they are literally just staying working, and they don't really do anything to screw up your property for the most part. Long term, again, they're treating it like a home. They're living there. However, they're living there 24/7 with dogs and kids and things and parties and all this stuff, and they know everybody and they have neighbors, and it can add a little bit more to maintenance, but not as bad as short term. I'd say midterm, long term are honestly similar amount. All right, so now let's look at like your net cash flow. So that was your overall cash flow. Your net cash flow is usually like mid-level for short term. You get your highest cash flow in midterm, and then mid-level for long-term, assuming it actually cash flows. Now, the reason why midterms are so good is, again, you're able to get more rent because you're renting it out on a 30, 60, 90, 120-day basis than a 12-month basis, and you're not having to have tenants move out all the time. Short-term all the time. Midterms are moving out 2 or 3 times a year. In fact, the occupancy for these two different options, the occupancy for short-term, the national occupancy is around 50%. I've seen numbers that are 54%, 48%. The national occupancy for a short-term rental is 50%. The national average occupancy for a midterm rental is 85%, which is crazy. And then for a long-term rental, it's probably like 93 to 95%. So you're getting way more cash flow than long-term, but you're getting similar occupancy. It doesn't matter if something rents for $10K a month if it's not rented. But if something rents for $10K a month and it's rented 85% of the time, you're getting way more cash flow. Or even if it's like 8K. 85% 8K is probably more than, 85% 8K is more than 50% of 10K, if that makes sense. Cool. Apps up, going good. Keep double tapping the screen. If you're just joining me, I'm talking about how to build wealth and cash flow extra by owning rental properties. I just went through some pros and cons of short-term, mid-term, long-term. Now let's talk about how to deal with tenants, okay? Because does anybody know what the #1 most expensive part about owning rental properties is? And I'm talking more long-term right now. So like your traditional 12, 24-month lease. What do you think the most expensive part about owning rental properties is? Any guesses? Any guesses what the most expensive part about owning rental properties is? Good it is, I'm typing it, but you can't see it. Turnover is the #1 most expensive thing when it comes to owning rental properties on a long-term basis. So wouldn't it make sense to understand how to limit turnover? If you're just joining me, my name is Sam. I own $50 million worth of real estate. I bought using none of my own money. If you're watching on Instagram or if you're watching on Facebook, type the word new in the chat box and you will get sent a free training, no strings attached. I don't collect your phone number or your email address, directly DM to you. You're even able to schedule a call with my team after watching it to see if we can help you even further, but that's optional. If you're watching on YouTube, check the description after this live and you will see it there. If you're on the other platform, go to those other two. All right, so the most expensive part about owning rental properties is turnover, so it makes sense to limit the most expensive thing that you're doing, right? Okay, so now the reason turnover is most expensive because you are collecting zero rent. You're collecting zero rental income, with an E. You're collecting zero rental income when you have a property in turnover. But guess what you still have to pay? You still have to pay for repairs, whether the tenant calls them or not. You're out of pocket paying for the repairs. Guess what else you're paying? You're paying taxes when you're still not collecting rent. You're paying insurance when you're not collecting rent. You're paying your property manager if you're paying for property management. So when you are, biggest one, you still have your mortgage. Sorry, my writing sucks. Deal with it. I'm not perfect. So when you are in your turnover phase, you're not collecting rent, but you still have to pay for repairs, you still have to pay for real estate tax, you still have to pay insurance, you still have to pay property management, you still have to pay your mortgage. So you have money going out the door, but you have no money coming in the door. That's why turnover is the most expensive, because it is a time you need to set money aside for with vacancy, of course. However, let's limit turnover. In one 10-year period, in a 10-year period, if you have a tenant move out every 2 years, you have 5 turnovers. Right? You probably aren't going to cash flow much. Even though you might think you might be, you're probably not going to cash flow much. But in 10 years, if you have a tenant move out every 2 years, you have 5 turnovers. My single-family rental portfolio has a tenant leave every 4.5 years. So in the same 10-year period, I have 2 turnovers. I don't care if you're collecting, if you're renting for $1,200 a month and I'm renting it for $1,000 a month, you are getting $200 more per month than me. But if you have 5 turnovers, I am cash flowing more than you if I have 2 turnovers. That's the first tip. Don't charge 100% of market rent. Your tenants will leave because they can find something better somewhere cheaper or a better landlord. If you charge a little bit less than market rent, your tenants stay longer and you will cash flow more, I promise. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate that, whoever did that. So, 5 turnovers in 10 years. Tenants move every 24 months. Doesn't sound bad. You're not going to make any money. If you have tenants leave every 4 to 5 years like I do, you have 2 tenants in a decade, you're going to cash flow more. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay, so how do you limit turnover? Any guesses in here? Anybody have any guesses on how you limit turnover? Thank you for the double taps. So shares this live with anybody who knows interest in real estate investing. I'm going live here probably evening, or I guess it's afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you're watching, depending on. We have people probably midnight where you're watching, people probably 11 a.m. where you're watching. So anyways, thanks for everybody for being here. Let me know where you're from in the chat box. Make sure you're following me, whatever platform you're on. The FasterFreedom Show on YouTube, check us out. Follow, subscribe, all the things. All right. So ways to limit turnover is long approvals. Long approvals. Would you rather have me write faster and less legible, or slower and more legible? I'm always in such a rush up here. Anyways, take longer to approve your tenant. It takes me 3 to 4 weeks to approve our tenants, and that may drive you crazy because, again, you're either turning over or you have a new unit and you're not collecting any rent. But if you approve the first person that can fog a mirror that makes enough money, there's a good likelihood they're going to move out because you didn't do your due diligence. We have long approval processes. We make sure we're getting 3x rent because we want it to be a good win-win scenario. We do a credit check. We do a background check. We call their past landlords to get a referral to see if they actually take care of their property. And some people, we don't do this as much. We visit their current property. Going and visit where they live now to get the lease signs will let you know if they take care of where they live now. So that's what we do. We spend extra time looking at the properties and digging into the actual the tenant and ask them questions. We look at their bank statements to see how their spending habits are. We do all of that, and that allows us to approve good tenants, even though it takes us longer, but then they stay for 4+ years. Does that make sense? We take longer to approve them. We make sure it's a good fit. We over-communicate. We make them go through our process, and if they make it through the other side, they are vetted, they're communicative, and they are our type of people. We love our tenants, and they stay for 4 years. And a lot of other people build no relationship with their tenant. They don't do anything. Besides just look at maybe a credit report and an income statement, and they approve them, and there's no connection there. And those tenants are leaving every 1 to 2 years. It's so simple, people, but it's so powerful. That's usually the simple things are the powerful things. Again, if you're watching on Instagram or Facebook, type the word new in the chat box. You'll get a free 25-minute training sent your way. Maybe it's 20 minutes, but legitimately it's free. I don't collect your phone number or your email address. Just check your DMs, and YouTube, check the description. And by the way, if you're on YouTube and this interests you at all, I want to do a lot of detail here. It's going to cycle. I'm going to let this cycle. I'm going to try at least to let this cycle. So if you're on YouTube and you're watching and you're interested in what I talked about for the past 20 minutes, it's getting ready to cycle when I'm done here in a few minutes. I'm going to talk for a little bit, where we'll just start over again. This is my goal. That's what I'm trying to have it do. So if it does do that, then yay. So that's the goal. All right. So so boom, boom, boom. There you go. So that's how you get more tenants to stay longer. You take more time approving them on the front end, and you communicate with them, and you take care of them. You know what we treat our tenants like? This is going to blow your mind. I saw some people typing new on TikTok. That's fine, but head over to, or link in the bio works there too. You know what we treat our tenants like? We treat our tenants like people. We respect them. We communicate with them. We ask how they're doing. We have tenants that care. We just had one of our tenants, listen to this story if you like stories. We just had one of our tenants, we actually have we bought 42 houses in one neighborhood, but one of our tenants was an ex-military. He moved here to St. Louis to be near his daughter. All of his family's in North Carolina. He has a dog. The dog got out and ran away. We have such good tenants in that neighborhood because we put them there, that we send out a mass message to our tenants in the neighborhood. You know, we own almost half the neighborhood. And one of the tenants said, yes, I found this dog. I sent him to the Humane Society here on this street address, and boom, the guy went and got his dog back. So that just goes to show you that we respect them. We treat them as people. I feel like if a lot of slumlords like message, they're like, they don't care. No, our tenants want to help each other and help us. So we were able to connect an amazing vet with veteran, not a vet like dog, but a military vet with his dog, because we treat him like people, we connect with him, we knew he had a dog, he told us that his dog got out, and we messaged his neighborhood and got him back. So that's a cool thing about treating people fairly and with respect and treating them the right way. So pretty cool story there. So that's a lot of what we talk about here. So that's kind of my shtick for now. Again, this thing will probably cycle through here momentarily once we get out of here, but it'll cycle through. So we'll